Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Pocket Star Wars. This is your weekly take on all of the Star Wars news, big and small, exciting or not exciting, or pretty deep into the fandom. I'm going to do my best to explain it. Before I get too far, I have been remiss in my duties of late, so please follow us on Twitter at Pocket Star Wars. Check us out on Facebook. Just search for Pocket Star Wars Podcast and you'll find us, and like us and friend us and retweet us. We need the listeners. We really, really do. We have a lot going on. We have a lot to give people. We have a lot to show. And hey, it's all for free. And we put this together for you every week to just try to make things a little simpler and a little easier. And if your life's a little hectic and you don't have time to follow all of it, don't worry about it. I'm going to try to follow it for you, and I'll put it out in digestible little bites. This week's episode is going to be a little different because there was a bit of Star Wars news that kind of bothered me. This kind of bugged me, and so I'm going to kind of focus on one thing this week and just kind of touch on it because I think, to a degree, I think people are getting duped a little bit. So on Screen Rant, there was an article the title of the article was "Survey Says Political Beliefs May Explain Why Fans Don't Like Last Jedi." So a social scientist put together a study that basically tried to say that conservatives and those less likely to find value in politically correct culture were less likely to like The Last Jedi. And it's a long thing, and that is what he tried to say. And I guess one of my big comments on this is to everybody out there that was offended was that correlation is not causation. If you have people that are inclined not to like politically correct culture and they watch a very politically correct movie that maybe didn't used to be that way but is now, they aren't going to like it. That's like saying water is wet. Yeah, okay, I got it. And people that were very prone to like PC culture, that wanted to see a woman that didn't need no man as the main character in their Star Wars, and she was great from day one, and she kicked a Sith's ass on like the first day holding a lightsaber. Well, if people are into that and they want that kind of social justice warrior content in their Star Wars, they're going to like it. Now, is there a correlation? Notice I didn't say causation. Is there a correlation between those people and being on the left side of the political spectrum as opposed to the people that don't like PC culture being on the right side of the political equation? I think there is. I think there's a correlation there. Again, water is wet. This is the ultimate example of clickbait. I think this was a stunt to try to generate clicks onto this guy's blog, to generate clicks onto him, to get him some hate on Twitter, which could actually benefit him in academia or among whatever clients he's trying to get. It could actually be good for him to get people talking about him. You know, what's the old saying? All press is good press. There's some truth in that. If he is trying to get work in certain social circles, then having, the right-wing Twitterverse, the fandom menace, if you will, although I don't say that the fandom menace is right-wing. I just think it's anti-PC. I think it's left and right-wing. Well, then, God bless him. He just got some more work, maybe. But I wanted to talk for a minute because I think it's important that people do realize that correlation is not causation. The news will never tell you this. They will never help you with this. They will never try to get this point across. Because if people were to actually think about things, as opposed to just being like, oh, okay, gee whiz, they just spoon-fed us this concept. If people were to actually think about how things work, they might not necessarily like the news, or they might demand more from it. They might say, no, what you just gave me was an incredibly superficial reading of an event that happened. I need you to work harder to provide my news, and then starts rewarding the news agencies that work harder to get better news. So I want to give you an example. And this is an example I was trying to come up with some in my head, and I struggled, and I looked on the internet and I found one, and I really like this. There is a correlation between ice cream and murder. There is. There is on the very face of it. As temperatures go up, more ice cream is sold. As temperatures go up, homicides go up. So, therefore, ice cream is causing homicides. Or maybe homicides are causing more consumption of ice cream because maybe people are sad. Okay. Those two things absolutely correlate. Ice cream, murder. Who would have thunk it? But again, correlation is not causation. So is there something that's causing both? Well, there is. Temperature. When the temperature goes up, people want ice cream. It's warm, ice cream's cold, it's very comforting, it's very sweet, you've got more time. There is a correlation. There is a causal relationship between the external temperature and the consumption of ice cream. That has long been known, is very much the case. We got it, we all agree. And in fact, if you don't agree, why don't you text me at Pocket Star Wars, and we'll discuss the correlation or the causation between temperature and ice cream. Now, there is also statistically a causal relationship between temperature and homicide. So people are outside more. The days are longer. People are interacting more when it's warm because they're outside more. And you take human beings and you put them together, and bad things will occasionally happen. And the more human beings are around other human beings, it increases the likelihood that something bad will happen. And probabilistically, homicide rate will go up as the temperatures go up. That's causal. That is probabilistically causal. But that being said, ice cream and murder correlate, but no causation. There's nothing there. At least I hope not. Which then got me interested, and I kind of fell down a rabbit hole on the internet. And I'll just give you a couple more quick examples. When windmills are seen spinning really fast, the winds are high. So is it that the windmills caused the wind? Now, anybody with even a limited amount of experience in the world will say, that's ridiculous. It's the wind that caused the windmills. But depending on how you look at it, you could probably look at it the other way, and a child might. Or somebody that's not sophisticated enough to understand exactly what is going on in the world. And unfortunately, we end up with scenarios where articles like this are put out, where somebody tries to suggest that there's more of a causal relationship than actually exists. Or certainly the inference, and maybe that's a better way to say it, is that articles like this are put out, they're super clickbaity. And of course, people buy the ruse. People fall for it. And then the Twitterverse erupts and all the YouTube videos come out of people saying, look, this guy is trying to say that, I'm not sure that he is actually trying to say that. I think the article was certainly trying to imply that he was. Now, and here's probably the one that I grew up with and that I remember very much, and it probably relates a little bit more here, was when I was a kid, it was lots of news on violent video games. Violent video games were causing kids to become violent. Therefore, if you didn't want violence in your schools, you had to get rid of violent video games or violent songs. I grew up when Columbine happened, I think either when I was still in high school or had just gotten out of high school. And there was lots of talk about how Marilyn Manson had some sort of causal relationship with making Columbine happen, which is absolutely not the case. And in fact, there's no causal relationship that's ever been statistically found between violent video games and persons acting violent. In fact, it is probably true the other way, that people that are prone to violence then seek out violent content, whether it be video games or music or movies or TV shows or whatever, books. So I guess it's clickbait. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people fell for it on both sides, because the beauty of it, the beauty of clickbait, we live in a magical world. The beauty of clickbait is that we click on the article we don't like, and that's clickbait. But then we click on the rebuttal articles and YouTube clips that are trying to refute that, which is just more clickbait. So it's the endless cycle of clickbait that is very troubling. Now, I think The Last Jedi is a very challenging movie. There are things in it that don't suck. overall, I mean, it's a disappointment. I don't think anybody would say otherwise. Or I don't think anybody could really rationally say that it was anything other than a disappointment. But it's not all hate all the time. There were some things that worked. Not a lot, but there were some. But I guess I just don't fall for the hype. There's a lot to like. There's a lot to dislike. And if you're fair with both, you're going to walk away with a much better understanding of the entire universe. So that is my total summary of a rant. I'm going to try not to do too many of these clips, but occasionally I will have to do them. This is one that just irritated me to no end, that they were being, that everybody with the social scientist, Screen Rant, and then all the rebuttals were so manipulative, either manipulative or manipulated. And it just doesn't work for me. People shouldn't fall for this stuff, especially with how deep it's getting into the Star Wars community, because we have a new movie coming out. We've got new video games coming out. We've got great new books coming out. I can't wait for the Thrawn book. A lot is coming. Some of it's going to be good. Some of it's not. But don't try to inject politics into it, because it's the correlation may be there. The causation is not. And who cares if the correlation is there? Because ice cream doesn't cause murder. And I'm going to end there. In fact, that may be even the title of this episode. Episode 6, Ice Cream Doesn't Cause Murder. We'll see. I'll decide in a minute. All right. Thank you, everybody. Follow us on Twitter. Check us out on Facebook. Please check us out. Please like us. Please follow us. Please share us. Do everything you can. We're trying to spread the word here. And we'll talk to you real soon. Thank you.